Hey everyone, I actually wrote down everything this time. I'm hoping to get through the video easier with this. Also on a quick side note, all the videos I just released all at once have been done before September 18th. My plan at the time was I would have videos for you guys until I get back and play more of the games I had going on. Around that time I tweeted and also put on the Google Plus page that I'd be gone for a couple days and return because of health issues, not my own, but my husband's. Well, things didn't go well, obviously, and that is the reason for this video. So let's start at the beginning. In the beginning of June, my husband's doctor took some biopsies of his prostate because of PSA levels were rising for the past year. On the 18th of June, we got the news that he has prostate cancer. The doctor talked to us about our options, and the only one that we both felt comfortable with was the total removal of it. The other options, if they failed, would mean no chance of removal anymore and pretty much be screwed. So we set the operation for the 18th of September. It would be performed with a Da Vinci robotic machine, and we could go home the following afternoon. Sounds great. There was a minor complication even before the surgery started, and that's because of scar tissue, because my husband already had multiple TURPs surgeries done before this. So the normal surgery would take about 2.5 hours, but because of this, it's going to be about 4.5 hours. So went in for the surgery, and he had a little bit of trouble in post-op. Nothing too serious, but everything seemed to be okay, and the surgery went well according to the doctor. We got him settled into his room, and the nurses were nice enough to bring me a cot into his room so I could stay with him. The hospital we were at was a good 1.5 hours away from home, so I wasn't coming home, obviously. He had 5 cuts in his stomach, and one of them had a drainage tube sewn to one of them, and of course a catheter. He even ate a little that night. The nurses started to get a little concerned later that evening that he wasn't outputting hardly anything into the catheter bag, but the drainage tube was pulling an awful lot of stuff out. They contacted the doctor that was on call for him, but that wasn't the same doctor that did the surgery, and just told them to try flushing the catheter. It's probably just blocked. Okay, fine. So I fell asleep about midnight and was woken up at about 2 a.m. by cries of pain, a lot of pain. Now, I've been with my husband for almost 20 years, and I never in my life heard him scream like that. Soon after, he started vomiting. The nurses kept calling the on-call doctor, and he just kept telling to give him more morphine. That wasn't helping at all. He stayed in pain like that for over 4 hours before this incredibly arrogant on-call doctor came in at 6 a.m. As soon as he saw him, saw the drainage tube, he knew exactly what was going on. And why he couldn't come in before this, I'll never know. That there was a leak. What they do in this type of surgery is completely sever the urethra so they can remove the prostate, and they reattach it at the base of the bladder with sutures. Apparently there was a leak, and all of the urine was going up or leaking out into his abdominal cavity. And that causes the intestines and bowels to completely shut down and not work at all, and why he was vomiting. By 9 a.m., we were back in the OR to have a stomach tube put in to drain and keep draining his stomach, so he wouldn't vomit anymore. Even though he wouldn't be eating anything, your stomach still produces a bile that would need to go through the intestines. And since they were not working right now, there's only one way it could get out, and that's through the stomach tube. They also hooked up morphine directly to his IV, and he could hit that button anytime he had pain, because it wouldn't be until later that night that his doctor could see him. At 5 p.m., he was back in surgery with his normal doctor. I was told, "Oh, don't worry, this will be really quick. All I would do is put in some stents into his kidneys so it will bypass the leak area, and we'll also check the reattachment of the urethra." Well, 4 hours later, the doctor finally came out and spent more time with me and my mother. My mother was there since early that morning when everything went to hell. He told me that there was only a 5% chance of this happening, and it only happened to him once before in his entire career. Obviously, we wouldn't be going home anytime soon. So now, all we had to do was wait for him to come out of post-op. An hour went by, then 2. There was a phone at the desk in the waiting room, and since it was so late, there was no one around. And they have a number there that you can call if you've been waiting for longer than an hour and a half. So I called, and I talked to the anesthesiologist, and he said he isn't doing so well. Give me about another hour with him, and he'll come to get me to see him. About an hour later, he came and got me, and we went to the post-op room, which usually nobody's allowed in that area, but this was an exception. Now, my husband doesn't have the best heart in the world. He has had a couple heart attacks. So when I saw his vitals, I started to get really scared. I could see that the anesthesiologist was also. His blood pressure had dropped to 78/45. His beats per minute was at 157, and his heart was in an AFib rhythm. And they couldn't get anything back to normal. So, we were put into the ICU for 2 days. And I'm not gonna lie, I was seriously scared. Scared that I was gonna lose my husband, and I almost did. I thank God for my mother being there with me all that time. She was such an incredible help to me. And Nubs, thanks for talking with me at 2 in the morning. Finally, on the second day, a cardiologist saw him. His blood pressure returned to normal on its own, but he still had an AFib rhythm and a beat per minute of 157. That doctor was able to give him some meds through IV to bring down the beats per minute and some other medication for the AFib. The next morning I was told he was going to the cardiac wing, and they were able to finally remove the stomach tube. Well, they brought him to a normal room. They got him sitting up a couple times, but every time they did, his heart would go into this AFib rhythm again. So the next morning, they moved him to the cardiac wing. Why they didn't do that in the first place, I don't know. The final day was just recovering, and his intestines were working again, so things started to get good. But every time they got him up to walk, his heart would go into an AFib rhythm, and his beats per minute would skyrocket to higher than what the monitor could actually handle. He's already on a medication for AFib, but they added another, and it seemed to help. Finally, on the 23rd, we got to go home. The one good news that we got while we were in the hospital was the pathology report came back, and it looks like they were able to get all the cancer. It was an aggressive cancer, but it looks like they got it in time, and there's no signs that it had spread. Now we just have a very long healing process ahead. When you look at your spouse, significant other, parents, brother, sister, you see someone that is strong and can do anything. When you see them like I saw my husband in that time, you see how fragile life is. And you hope to never see them like that ever. When I was in the ICU waiting room, I really started regretting not spending more time with my husband and doing more things with him. Please don't take this the wrong way. I love you guys like a second family. But I regretted all the time I wasted editing, recording, uploading videos, and not being with my husband. And to my husband, I know you're going to watch this even though I asked you not to. But I love you way more than you'll ever know. So this is going to hurt some of you as well. But I've decided that I'm going to be leaving YouTube permanently this time. I don't know why I needed a second wake-up call. But what is done is done. I'm not giving up on gaming, but I will be doing a lot less of it. I won't totally abandon you guys though. After thinking about it for a little while, I'm thinking I may just live stream when I do play. I won't take down my channel though. I've had some great moments with friends and you guys that will forever be captured on YouTube. As for the games I have going on right now on my channel, I'm so close to finishing Final Fantasy XIV, I will finish that. So, as far as Destiny, I've actually finished the story of that before all this happened, so that's done. As far as the XCOM with the Long War mod, I'm sorry, but I have to end that one. That's just too long to continue with currently. So what I would like you guys to do, if you have a spouse, a significant other, parents, brothers, sisters, imagine life without them. Think about it really hard and really imagine life without them. Spend more time with them and tell them how much you love them more often. So goodbye, and thank you guys for the years of fun, laughter, and just being a second family.